Hi. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight's going to be movie content. For today's video, I'm going to do the mid-year movie freakout tag. This is like original-ish. It's not like a totally original tag because I am basing these questions off of the mid-year book freakout tag. I do the mid-year book freakout tag every year. I already uploaded that video, so I will link that up above. For the mid-year movie freakout tag, what I do is just take those questions, those bookish questions, and turn them into like movie-ish questions. So for example, question number 1 is the best book you read so far this year. So in the movie version of the tag, it's going to be what's the best movie you watched so far this year. The last 2 questions are original questions that I came up with. One final comment before we jump into it. For these questions, for the majority of them, I am going to try to stick it to movies that are new to me. Only about 1 or 2 of these questions will involve rewatches, but again, I want to talk about movies that I've seen for the first time in the year 2022. Alright, let's get started. Question number 1, what is the best movie you watched so far this year? And I actually have 3 answers for this because I can't really decide. It's between 1967's Romeo and Juliet, Perfect Blue, and Song of the Sea. We all know what Romeo and Juliet's about, so I'm not really going to give a synopsis of that, but Perfect Blue is about a woman who goes from pop star to an actress. In short, throughout this movie, she is losing her mind and she is unable to decipher between fiction and reality. Song of the Sea is a movie from Cartoon Saloon that is based on Irish lore. It involves silkies. It's about a brother and a sister who go on this adventure. His sister is mute, but she is believed to one day sing the song that saves the world. All 3 of these movies are vastly different, and I enjoy them all for different reasons, so that's why I can't really pick my best movie. Song of the Sea, I watched back in like January, early February. It's like it was number 1 for a long time until I watched these other 2. Song of the Sea was just really cute, and I love learning about Irish folklore. I think that's some of my favorite folklore to learn about, and this movie was full of it, and I had a lot of fun. Perfect Blue, I was just on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I discussed in past videos, I love the narration style of this because what makes this movie so engaging is just the way scenes are cut and strewn about. Like not only is our main character unable to determine what's real and what's not, like you as the viewer can't tell what's real either. Like you have no idea what's in her head versus what she actually witnessed. And I think that's a great way to tell a thriller story. It's a stalker story, and at the end of the day, it made me just as horrified as our main character was. There's also just a lot of social commentary about what it's like to be a celebrity and just what it's like to be a woman in general. And something that struck me was, despite this movie coming out in the 90s, things haven't really changed. Like, this movie I think is my age. I'm 20, I'm gonna be 25 soon, so this movie is, you know, about 25 years old, give or take a few years, and we still have the problems that this movie explores. Romeo and Juliet, why is it one of my favorite films? I don't know. Like, I went into it knowing the story, but I've reacted to this movie and I talked about it in another wrap-up video. I was just genuinely surprised by it, how much I ended up adoring this movie. Out of all the Romeo and Juliet adaptations, I'm not like a huge fan of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I was never a huge fan of that play, but I've seen many adaptations, and this is by far my favorite one. Question number 2 is the best sequel movie I watched this year. This is where I'm going to actually mention a rewatch just because I didn't, like, every sequel that I watched this year was a rewatch. It wasn't a new to me movie. Out of all those sequels, I have to say my favorite one is Star Wars Episode 3 Return of the Sith, or Revenge of the Sith. Whoops. I rewatched this movie just yesterday, actually. I'm trying to rewatch all the Star Wars movies because I recently visited Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, and it just kind of re-sparkled my love for the series. I haven't actually seen this movie since I was a wee lass. Like, I was very young. I think the movie had just come out when I saw it. But I remember it being like one of my favorites back in the day. And people drag the prequels for filth. I mean, now it's the sequels they drag and not so much the prequels, but like pre-sequel era, I remember how people just hated these 3 movies. And quite frankly, Episode 3, out of all 9 movies, Episode 3 is my favorite. It just might be the fact that I am a sucker for like villain origin stories, which is what Episode 3 kind of focuses on. It focuses on Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader, and I love stories like that, so that actually might be why Episode 3 is my favorite and why it's the best sequel I watched this year. Number 3, a movie that is a new release you have not seen yet, and that is going to be The Batman starring Robert Pattinson. This got rave reviews and I still haven't seen it. Number 4 is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have 1 movie and actually 2 anime to talk about. I was trying not to bring up TV shows, but for some of them I might. But when it comes to a movie, I'm actually actually really excited for Guillermo del Toro's version of Pinocchio. I'm a sucker for stop motion, and I love Guillermo del Toro's style. And also, as someone who's read, like, the original Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi and knows how, like, fucked up that story is, I'm really interested to see his take on it. And, like, the fact that Disney's also coming out with their own Pinocchio around the same time, I do feel bad for the guy, just because that is, you know, Disney's Pinocchio is the one everyone, in America at least, is more acquainted with, so I just hope it doesn't hurt his sales or his success rate. Because I had to write a whole paper about the original Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, and like one of the things I talked about was when an Italian director, Roberto Benigni, made a live action, a lot of Americans dunked it because he based it on the book, not the Disney version, so they were all saying it's so much different than the original being Disney. I'm wondering if that's going to happen with Guillermo del Toro, and I hope not. But then as for anime, the two anime I'm really excited for, one is Uzumaki, because I read this manga last year, so I know this anime is going to be fucked up. The other one is Chainsaw Man, because anime Twitter will not stop talking about it. Number 5, a movie that was the biggest disappointment, and I'm going to go with Bubble. This is a Netflix original movie from Wit Studio, which is the same studio that did the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, and it also has the same composer as the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan. And this is about kind of like a post-apocalyptic Tokyo where this bubble turns into a human girl and a boy falls in love with her because they both recognize the same melody. And I was I was really disappointed in it because this is essentially Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid, but with parkour. And the parkour scenes are really cool to watch, but the story itself was very... it just would have worked a lot better as like a 12-episode long anime than like an hour and 45-minute movie, because it needed more room for the lore. Like, the world building was kind of very rushed, and there just wasn't enough room for these characters to develop. And when I say Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid, I literally mean, like, at some points in the movie, the girl, her name's Uta, she was like reading the book, right? And then later throughout the movie, she'll remember lines from the book as literally happening to her. And I don't really know why I didn't like that. Like, Bubble's not the first movie to do something like that, but I didn't really like how Bubble handled it. And I just thought the romance between the two was kind of rushed. Because at one point, the boy kind of just, I don't want to say hated her, but he was very dismissive. And then one day he kind of just loved her. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is not good. Number 6 is Biggest Surprise, and again, that is going to go to 1967's Romeo and Juliet. Or maybe it's 1968, I might be getting the date wrong. I think these two actors have the best chemistry I've ever seen between a Romeo and Juliet. Like, it actually had me convinced they truly were in love. And these two actually had me convinced that love at first sight is real. Just because, like, other adaptations, I watch it and I'm like, okay, cool. You guys are what, 14, 17? Like, okay, like, get over it. You just met 4 hours ago. It's gonna be okay. You'll break up and find someone new. Whereas these two, they just had such great chemistry. I didn't feel like I was watching a couple that just met 4 hours ago. Like, I truly felt like I was watching a couple that knew each other for years and was around for years to grow, to love, and learn about each other. And something I do actually appreciate is that these actors are the same age as the characters, because Juliet is 14, Romeo is 17, and oftentimes in adaptations they will age them up, but in this movie they don't. And I actually think by making the actors the same age as the characters is what helped make it as convincing as it is. But it made me want to fall in love and hope that one day if I die, assuming I die first, my future husband will cry over me like Romeo cried over Juliet. And I was rooting for them too. Like, obviously I went into this knowing the ending, and I was still like rooting for them to live, you know? And then they did it, and I was actually very upset about that. Number 7 is Favorite New Director, or director that's new to you. I don't know his name, but I'm gonna go with the guy who made the movie Belle. Despite this being a 3 out of 5 movie for me, I am interested to see his other movies. He made Wolf Children, he made Mirai, I think there's one called like The Boy and the Beast that a lot of people like. I really like his animation style, and I like how it looks. So even though Belle isn't my best movie of the year, I am genuinely interested in looking into his other stuff. Number 8 is Newest Fictional Crush, and I don't have a movie character for this, so I'm gonna go towards like TV shows and anime, but that's gonna be Lloyd Forger of Spy X Family. So if you don't know what Spy X Family is about, it's this huge anime right now, and it's about this guy named Lloyd Forger who is a spy. He's on Operation Strix right now, where he kind of has to meet and defeat this political dude, but to do so he needs to create a fake family. So he adopts Anya and then convinces a woman named Yor Breyer to marry him. However, Lloyd doesn't know that Yor is an assassin, Yor doesn't know that Lloyd is a spy, neither of them know that Anya is a telepath. Anya, being a telepath, knows everything about both of them. However, being only 4 or 5 years old, she doesn't really quite understand the gravity of what's going on, the gravity of the situation, and also in the past she was told that she cannot tell anyone about her telepathy powers, so that's why she won't say anything, because she herself doesn't want to be found out. It's so good. It's such a wholesome show, and it's hilarious. And I need a Lloyd Forger in my life. He is very stoic and kind of has a stick up his ass, but Yor and Anya are kind of teaching him how to have fun sometimes. And despite this being a fake family, and he says over and over again, he is going to have to leave them one day. It's obvious throughout each episode that he does form special bonds. Like there's moments where he's extremely happy for Anya, especially when she gets into the school. He's always the first one to defend Yor when everyone else is kind of coming for her neck. And watching Yor fall in love with him, girl, I feel that. He's basically the first one to tell Yor, like, it's okay to be yourself, and like I actually like it when you're yourself. Yor has never been told that before. And he's just a very protective guy. Like the whole reason he became a spy is that he wants to live in a world where children don't cry. And I respect that. And also, he proposed to Yor with a grenade pin, and I am learning that, ladies, we cannot settle for less. Like, when watching this, when watching him do that, why would I settle for less? So I am not marrying anyone until they put that grenade pin on my finger. Number 9 is just newest favorite character in general, and again, I don't really have one towards movies, so I'm just going to bring up Spy X Family again. It is everyone in the Forger family: Lloyd, Yor, and Anya. I already went on and on about Lloyd, but I love watching Yor in her assassin mode, and when she's off of assassin mode, kind of just how, like, dense she is. She's kind of really fucking dumb, but it's so endearing, and it's really cute, and it's really cute watching her act like that and interact with Lloyd, who is always, like, on his toes, even off spy mode. Airhead is the word I'm looking for. Yor Forger is very much an airhead. And then Anya Forger is really cute, and the thing I love most about Anya Forger, honestly, is that out of all the anime I've seen that includes young children, she is the only one that actually acts like a child. I've seen other anime with young children where, like, the child's supposed to be 5, but they're acting like they're 20. And Anya's voice actor kind of helps, because sometimes they have these kids that are supposed to be 5 and they're played by these grown adults using their grown adult voice. And yeah, Anya is played by a grown woman, but she's using a very, very childlike voice, and it's actually really convincing. And I just love everything about their family dynamic. If this show had no plot and it was just this family going on about their day-to-day lives, I would still be addicted to it. It's just so funny, because out of all these shows I watch, they're the one fake family, and yet they arguably have some of the best family dynamic, best chemistry I've ever seen in a show. Not just anime, but just I've ever seen in a show or movie. And it's just, they're a fake family, and that's like the irony of it all. So if you haven't seen the show, this is my PSA to go watch it so I can annoy you for all of your opinions and we can have lengthy discussions about it. Number 10 is a movie that made you cry, and again, that is Song of the Sea. It made me cry like 3 times throughout the film. Can't really discuss more than that without spoiling. Number 11 is a movie that made you happy, and I'm actually gonna go with Pixar's Turning Red. So this is about a Chinese-Canadian girl who lives in Toronto, Canada. She wakes up one day and finds out she can turn into a red panda. This whole movie is an allegory for female puberty, and honestly, I thought they handled it very well, and one of the reasons it made me so happy was that it was just nice to watch a movie about a girl's coming-of-age story, and it wasn't pandered so that boys could also like it too. It was made about a girl for the girls. And there's a lot of things about Mei Mei that I relate to, like how uncomfortable it is to go through puberty. That's not what she was literally going through, but speaking in terms of the allegory, like how uncomfortable growing up is, I guess I could say. The whole fan fiction thing, relatable. Just loving boy bands. Like, it was, like, not only, like, was the big picture relatable, but even the small things. And I talked about this in another video, but it was also just really nice to see how her friends were always there for her. They never turned her back. And I actually appreciated they explicitly spoke about periods, because I never see that in a TV show. If they do, it's turned into some, like, perverted joke, and then, like, they make it out to be, like, disgusting, and, like, girls should feel bad for having their periods. But in this movie, it was literally just a mom being like, hey, do you need a pad? And that was it. It wasn't like this huge deal. It wasn't taboo, and I totally 100% appreciate that because I've never seen that in media before. Number 12 is the most beautiful movie poster, and I'm gonna go with Cartoon Saloon's Wolfwalkers. I just really love the color palette of this and the art style. And this movie was also really, really cute, and I highly recommend it. Number 13, this is the last question that's based on the bookish questions. It's what movies do I still have to watch by the end of the year? And I don't really have specifics, I just kind of have like types of movies. Like I want to finish the Star Wars movies, I want to finish my Star Wars marathon. The guy who created Belle, I want to watch all his movies. There's some movie reactions I have in mind, like for example, The Crucible, The Haunting of Hill House. Some other like Halloweenish movies I have picked out. There's some Christmas movies I have picked out for reactions from when I can hopefully do Vlogmas again. One of them being Rise of the Guardians. And I also have some TV shows on here. I want to finish Tokyo Ghoul. I've decided I'm probably not going to react to it anymore because just to get the 3 episodes up, the copyright is fucking insane and ridiculous. Like I can't just keep going through that. So I'm probably just going to watch it on my own time. Umbrella Academy Season 3 came out, and I also want to watch Star Wars The Clone Wars and Kenobi. So these next 2 questions are my own original questions. Number 14 is the oldest movie I watched this year, and that is Romeo and Juliet. And then my last question is my favorite rewatches. I have written down a different answer than what I'm actually going to say, but I'm having so much fun with my Star Wars rewatch. It's fun reminiscing on like these movies that I loved as a kid and just like the inspiration for Galaxy's Edge, which I had so much fun in, and just things I'm noticing about these movies now that I'm watching them like, you know, back to back and not waiting years between each movie. I have to admit, like especially Attack of the Clones, but even the original trilogy, the dialogue is extremely corny. Oh my god. But there's like, for the original trilogy, there's just something so endearing about it, so I love the corniness of it all. Attack of the Clones was, that was really rough to get through. I know a lot of people just like strongly dislike episode 2. And it's my least favorite, and like just one of the reasons is just the corny dialogue. And in the original trilogy, at least it was delivered well, and some of the actors seem self-aware, whereas episode 2, what's his name? Hayden Christensen, the guy who played Anakin, he didn't seem self-aware at all, and his delivery was actually kind of god-awful, but he did get a lot better for episode 3. Another thing I'm kind of noticing with these movies, I read somewhere that, at least for the original trilogy, I don't know about the prequels, but the original trilogy was written as they went along, and it is kind of apparent now that I'm watching it back to back. However, again, there's just something so endearing about the original trilogy, nostalgic and extremely endearing. Like from a writer's perspective, are there some things I don't like? Yeah, but that goes with everything. Who cares? I watch these movies for the entertainment that they are. And again, like episode 3 out of all 9 episodes, it is my favorite, but again, it's because I do like that villain. I love a good villain origin story, which is what episode 3 really is. Not only that, but I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but out of all the trilogies, I do think the prequels have the best music, especially episode 3. Like Battle of the Heroes is like my favorite piece of music in all of Star Wars. And I love watching the lightsaber fights. I think the prequels have the best fights. And another thing I like about the prequels, as much as people drag them, is just learning about Jedi theology, just because, you know, it was talked about in the original trilogy, but we couldn't really see it because Luke was like the one and only Jedi. So I liked seeing it explored in the prequels. It was interesting to explore this world again. Just original trilogy I always see like sporadically throughout the years, whereas like the prequels, I have not seen them since I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. So it truly was nice exploring the world of Star Wars, and it's always shocking to me when, like, how much, we know so much about Star Wars lore now, but how very little of it is in the first ever movie. That goes towards any franchise, because obviously when you have so many movies, you build upon your world. But sometimes, like, when something's so grandiose the way Star Wars is, you always forget about where it started and how little was actually in said movie and how far you had to go. And I think that's all I have to say about that, because I do still need to rewatch the sequels. And that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what some of your answers to these questions are, or if you have movie recommendations. I'm always down for those. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. And without further ado, I'm gonna peace out, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao a tutti.